Okay. All right.
And then the replacing the water main.
Are we on? All right. Good evening and welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting, Monday, April 3rd, 2023. We're having the meeting live and via Zoom, and the meeting is also being televised on Foxboro Cable Access. So all of the legal things are in order, I do believe. Therefore, I will open the meeting, and do we have any public comments? All right. David, do we have any minutes?
No, we don't have any minutes, but I do have a correction that I misplaced from the last meeting.
Oh.
For I got it all typed up and everything. It's so easy. No?
So easy.
Well, it's just, you just had the wrong information that Bill provided the right information.
Oh. All right. All right, just a couple minutes before. All right, let's discuss Willow Street. A number of us visited that site. It's a piece of property that the town took over by tax, due to non-payment of taxes. It's an old horse farm. It's got a barn on it. A number of us visited the site. It's adjacent to the Canoe River, and one of the tributaries to the Canoe River runs through the property. So I was talking to the fire department about a possible burn for that, the horse barn, and they were out today to look at it, and to they will take it back to committee and see if they can get approval. I guess they unfortunately have to get an approval through DEP as well, so that's going to take some time. But I think it would be a nice asset to the adjacent property to make it all connected. Anybody that was out there like to say anything about it?
No, it is a nice piece of property, got a lot of water on it, a lot of wetlands, so.
Yep.
That barn, there's not much left to it.
No.
Well, Jane made an observation too, that that pond in the back was kind of like dead. Didn't seem to be any type of fish, aquatic life. No wood frogs, totally quiet. So may not even classify as a vernal pool, but why is it so murky and dead?
I think there are little fish in it,
Yeah, I thought we saw.
really like small ones, and,
Ripples.
the rumor is that it was stocked with shiners back in the day, and they're probably still persisting.
Well, it's possible. We didn't see anything moving around, though.
I actually went back and I threw a line in the water, and I got no interest in anything big, or like something that would take a fishing lure, but it would stand to reason, especially given how murky it was, that, yeah, there's probably small fish in there that are eating anything that decides to lay an egg in there, or,
Yeah, well, it's quite deep. I don't know how deep, because I'm not gonna walk out and try to see how far I can go, so. But, I think I'd say several feet deep at least.
and we can throw a net in there too if we really want to know what's going on.
Yeah, we didn't see anything.
But let's wait till we get it.
Sure.
The town's got to make a vote on that. Then 7:05, we have a pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, bless you, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, the Conservation Commission will open a public meeting on Monday, April 3rd, 2023, at 7:05 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, or via Zoom on a request for determination of applicability filed by 17 Conway, filed by Lawson Phase 2 LLC for the construction of a single-family home, utilities and driveway at 17 Conway Lane, Assessors Map 063, parcels 001 and 010, within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. The application is available for public inspection at the Conservation Office. Mr. Buckley.
Mr. Chairman, good evening. For the record, my name is Bill Buckley from Bay Colony Group, and as you stated, we're here before the commission filing a request for determination of applicability for 17 Conway Lane. So I've put the plan up on the board. I know every one of you has a copy of the drawing, and I'll just give you a quick orientation. So Conway, this lot is located, this is Conway Lane, so if you were coming up the completed portion of the site, went to the top of the hill and went down the hill, this is at the bottom of the hill at the cul-de-sac. And this is Goodwin Drive, which has been completed for about, 600 feet or so. So here's Conway coming from the top of the hill, here's the cul-de-sac, and here's Goodwin Drive. So, this was part of the Lawson Farm subdivision that was reviewed back in 2016. And the future owner proposes to construct a single-family home on the lot. A portion of the lot lies within a 100-foot buffer zone, and I'm going to have a problem, I'm pretty sure. Oh, here we go, good. Let me zoom in here. And I should have colored this up better. But here's the 100-foot buffer zone line right here. So you can see that. And so the only work that's taking place is some grading down here and a portion of a wall, which is no more than 4 feet high along the bottom here. I think it's 4 feet. No, it's up to 6 feet at its highest point. But it's a wall basically just holding back the slope in order to eliminate any more grading within the buffer zone. Actually, there's already some erosion control fencing down there. It'll be expanded for this project. At its closest point, which is right here, the wall is about 88 feet, or the limit of clearing, the limit of work will be about 88 feet from the BVW, which is down in this area here. It's about a total of 1,275 square feet of alteration. All of it will consist of the landscaping, which is the wall. And at this point, I think what we're going to be using is a riprap stone slope there, because they've already started building that, and they think they're going to continue to use it. As we've talked about previously, this is a path that comes in from Lakeview Road, and it will run through the land that's going to be conveyed to the Conservation Commission eventually. And this lot itself has two fence posts that will be placed, one here and one here, where the path is closest to the property. And those posts consist of, they're 6x6 posts. They'll stick about 4 feet out of the ground, and they have a tag on them saying conservation property. And again, this was approved during the initial design. This isn't part of this design, but I wanted to show you that so that you can see where it, how it lies. The septic system is more than 150 feet away from any of the wetlands, which is in compliance with the Board of Health regulations and with the local Conservation Commission bylaw. At its closest point, the house is about 165 feet from the BVW. And I think this would be an appropriate one for a request for determination because of the very limited amount of work taking place within the buffer zone and the fact that at its closest point, we're about 88 feet away from the closest wetland resource area. That concludes my presentation.
Okay. I know Jane has some questions on it, but any questions from the board?
Where's the riprap gonna go?
So what we were gonna do, what they've done now is they have so much stone up there, as you've seen, I don't know if you've seen it, is when they were clearing this lot, they've already started building that slope, and they've used riprap on it. So we'll probably continue to use riprap on it, as opposed to taking that all out and putting in grass.
So that's gonna be that entire slope.
I wouldn't say the entire slope, but a decent amount of it, yes. Probably not near the top,
Okay.
because, Joe homeowner
What's some lawn?
he wants some lawn, he's not gonna be interested in looking at that. But down below, I think, would be the area where it would remain.
It's gonna be a steep lawn.
I'm sorry?
It's gonna be a steep lawn, and that's.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough area. This was the house, though. He wanted a flat backyard on the side of the hill.
Good for sledding.
When you actually walk that now, the construction fence is up and the silt tubes are in, but are they in the buffer zone? Because based on your plan here and walking it, it appears that they've already done this work.
No, we marked out the erosion control fencing line before any of this was cleared. And so I assume, and I haven't checked, that erosion control fence line is where it was shown on our definitive plan. It's not what is going to be here. This will be moved further back and it will be expanded. So a portion of it will probably be moved back 15 or 20 feet in order to get to that 88, because if it's along the 100 right now, they're gonna have to move it back, build that wall and the rest of the slope.
You might want to check it because it looked like they've done work already without getting the approval here.
Okay. I will check, but I will say that it's the same developer that you talked to that day about
Right.
clearing, so.
Sorry.
If you really
Jane, we're
everyone needs to the holes if they blast them.
doing Conway Lane, just to catch you up. Did you have some questions or comments on that?
I don't believe that I did. Yeah, most of the work is out of the 100-foot, correct?
Yes.
Although the backside, is the backside of it all lined with rocks and stuff?
They started to, when they were clearing the top there,
Within the 25-foot? I mean, the 100-foot?
it should not be. We've marked out that line before they started construction. And as I was telling the commission, David was asking, I said, it's the same guy who you met out there, who you
Okay.
asked if he was working in the 100, so.
Yes.
I would hope not.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments? Someone make a motion?
I'll make a motion for a negative determination on assessors map 063 P001/010, Austin's Phase 2.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you. Now, put all that up there.
Yeah, there should be one. I believe you have it.
Oh, is it in here?
It should.
Okay. Oh, okay. I do. I do. At 7:10, we have a continuation of Walnut Street, DEP 157623. Mr. Buckley?
Mr. Chairman, good evening again. For the record, my name is Bill Buckley from Bay Colony Group. Frank Spillane from Spillane and Spillane is here with us this evening, as well as Jesse Johnson from Weston and Sampson. So we met with the commission 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, on this project. And at the time, there were some questions. We had some discussion on the issues going forward. I believe the major ones, one that was brought up by the commission, and two that we brought up, which were not major, but there were issues open with. The first was that we were doing some work within 25 feet of that isolated land subject to flooding. And so we went back and took a look at it and pulled back the work to give a minimum of a 10-foot no disturbance buffer around that isolated land subject to flooding. I've said it before, but I'll just say it again, is an ILSF does not have a buffer zone. It doesn't have a 25-foot. But, so we worked on pulling it back. If you look on sheet C100, which is one of your first sheets, and look on the bottom, if I can go to it. And on the bottom, if you look on the bottom, it says 10-foot minimum to isolated vegetated wetland. This is the clearing plan that shows what the clearing will take place at the beginning. And then if you go to sheet L130, which is toward the back, it's one of the landscape plans. And look on the bottom. And you can see, I'm going to try and call it up, but it's having technical difficulties here. But if you look on the bottom, you can see kind of the cutout along the edge where that's the same limit of clearing line. And you can see the plantings that are taking place in there, which is what we talked about before was, everything in there is kind of scrubby. So it will be replaced with red cedars, eastern red buds, and service berries along that line. And as we stated before, the fact is that wetland is actually above us. It's flowing toward us. So that was one of the things. If you go back to sheet C106, that's your stormwater sheet. And that shows where Jesse talked about at the last meeting, the fact that the water department asked us to connect the water lines between the two driveways. So, well, not just connected, we're replacing the existing line. So if you look on that plan set, if you look on Walnut Street, you can see that we've added you look between the two driveways, you'll see the line on the other side of the street, which shows how the new water line would be laid. And again, that's all within the pavement. And then finally, on the same sheet, I'm sorry, that was C104. But you can still see it on 106. But if you look on 104, and then go back to 106, and on our side of the road, there's a big ditch, if anybody's been out there. And what we initially showed was piping through there. Going back and looking at it, it's not gonna really handle it. So what we're proposing is we replace the piping with a box culvert. So it's a 3-foot span, 1-foot rise, and it's under both entrances. The emergency entrance, which is more toward North High Street, and the main entrance, which is closer to 140. Again, that's all on our side of the street, but some of it is within the buffer zone. So those were the changes that were made. And we'll open any questions.
Jane, I know you did a site visit.
I did, and I went right at the height of vernal pool season. And I'm pleased to announce there were no chorusing wood frogs, so, and there was very little water, actually, so I'm 99%, 98% sure it's not a vernal pool. So I don't have to worry about that. And I don't understand what you mean all the water goes down towards the front, because it looked pretty darn flat to me right there. But besides that, the particular area where they're going to get it closer is, it was a conservative delineation, so I don't think it's going to make a significant difference. But I would like you all to make a finding about that before, when it's closed.
Okay. Who else went out with?
I was there,
Okay.
yeah. No, and I agree, you're right. It does sort of slope out. There's a couple of small depressions on the top. It's not perfectly flat. But yeah, like Gene said, you didn't hear anything that smelled like a wetland. So it's just really soggy because it's been really wet, so. I'm curious, Bill, for the cutout, and I appreciate you making that little indent just to try to give a little extra buffer. How is that gonna be marked out so that when the guys are building and moving dirt, like they know, like there's gotta be a cut to?
Jesse, do you want to talk about the sediment control fencing and the construction fencing?
Jesse Johnson, Weston & Sampson Engineers, civil engineering consultant for the project. Before the start of any of the construction, they would have the survey. So this limit of work that you see on the plans, if they are approved, that would be given to the surveyor. They would set up the points in the office and then go out and survey, locate that whole limit of work line. And then we'd also put a secondary line on the limit of the erosion control. So the limit of work would be demarcated out in the field with some type of construction fencing. And then you'd have another layer where the actual erosion controls are in place. So that's what we'd use to protect that limit of work from being expanded beyond what's approved.
And that's on sheet C500. If you take a look, the lower right corner is the, it's not a hay bale.
This thing's
It's listed as a compost filter tube.
Yeah.
Okay.
That information is usually included in an attachment, the attachment A,
Okay.
with details like that.
All right, thanks.
All right. Any other questions?
Because of our experience in the past, he just said that they're gonna put the fencing up and the filter tubes, but usually you mark it out with flagging and then they clear it because it's so hard to move those tubes. So who's right?
Well, aren't construction fencing first, probably in tubes after it's been cleared?
Typically, what I write, and I'm sure it's the same thing, is just what you just said, Mr. Packer, is the surveyors would mark it out, you go in and clear it, the trees. Not necessarily, we don't stump it at that point. Then we go back in and put the erosion control fencing in, because now we can move around, and then we stump it. So until there's, the only disturbance you'll see is just with the big rubber tire machines going through to snip the trees and pull them out, to skid them out, and then they'll come in, lay the erosion control fencing, and then they'll pull the stumps. So there won't be any erosion until the stumps get pulled. That's when it starts to get ugly. So that would be the sequence. I'm not sure if it's written somewhere, Jesse, in that sequence, but
May I suggest that you put additional flagging out? So we don't have what's happening in the other
do you
place.
think if I put more flags out, that would have helped?
They might notice.
What about arch construction fencing first? I mean, that can't be too difficult, and it's a pretty good,
No, it is.
it
I mean,
shows
imagine
pretty
carrying
well.
those rolls in the woods. So, I mean, you just are jaded right now because of what just happened. But you look on the rest of that site that we just were at, it was done correctly, but you just can't outlaw stupid. That's what happens. But we can, we try to make sure that you can see, that the guy can see between flags.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the audience? Nope, okay. Close it? Or do-
I don't see why not.
Okay,
The only thing about that is I came down late because I tried to get the order out completely, but in any case, I did the signature page, and of course, I left it upstairs, so I'll run upstairs and get it right now. But as far as if you do close it, the findings I was recommending is the, 10 feet, due to the fact that it's not a vernal pool, as was observed in other, something, because the last few 40Bs had a certified vernal pool, so
Yep.
they were kind enough as to give us that 25-foot. With this, it's like 10 at the closest, but it's not a vernal pool. That presumption's been overcome, so. I just don't want to set some sort of precedent, see what I'm saying? No.
so how would you like the official wording to be?
I won't run upstairs and get the last page in for a minute
Okay.
then. You should probably close it and then make a finding for the orders of conditions.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to close the hearing?
Just one other question, Mr. Buckley. The debris that's going to be coming tracked out of the site on the trucks and stuff like that, I didn't quite see. Did you have some way of controlling that silt from coming out and going into the ditch? Or being washed in there from the rains?
They usually have
Jesse, is-
gravel.
They usually have, I just didn't see
A
it.
trackpad?
Yeah, we'll have to file, because we are over 1 acre of disturbance, we're gonna have to do a SWIP per the EPA requirements for a NIPD's permit. So we'll work with, obviously, the selected site contractor prior to that, help them to file that on their behalf. We usually help them draft and work out what their erosion control is gonna set up, where the temporary basins are gonna be put. If there's any interim basins that are required for amount of clearing they're doing. So we'll work through that and have the final SWIP prepared. We have no issue, and typically do also provide a copy of that to the town for their files, so that it just protects everybody and they know it's in place. We're willing to do that as well for this permit if needed.
Do you think that there will be very much changes at all? Because our normal boilerplate language says if there are any other permits that make, cause change, then you'd need to come back and speak to the commission. I'm just trying to,
No, and we understand that fully. The SWIP usually maintains the same limit of work, same limit of clearing, if you will, for trees, but it just gets into the details of how they're going to set up their laydown areas, where they're going to put temporary settling basins, how they're going to direct if they needed to with swales on site for erosion controls, and then gives the instructions for putting down any type of seed or anything like that if they have piles exposed for 2 weeks or greater, those types of things. So a limit of work, and anything within your jurisdiction is not going to change. It's just getting into how you'd handle stormwater runoff during construction.
good, thank you.
David, if you look at sheet C500 too, there is a stabilized construction entrance detail on there. So it's it's exactly the same as you see on almost all the drawings.
All right. Anything else?
No, not for me.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing on Walnut Street, DEP number 157-623.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
So one detail, if you all could make a finding that the 10-foot is being observed for this project at the closest, because it is not a vernal pool. I think that probably would cover it. And I'll go get the sheet.
Okay. David, you want to spell that out for the secretary?
No.
Can handle it. Go ahead, Jim.
The finding?
Got it there. Our finding is that this set of plans shows that there's going to be a 10-foot wide, no disturbance area along the edge of the isolated land subject to flooding, and that this would provide requested protection of this limited wetland.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have a request from the NRRC for an extension to DEP file 157479. That's their treatment of the reservoir. Somebody want to make a motion to extend that?
I'll make a motion to,
That's when? The date.
Did they ask for a date?
I told Jane, usually it's 3 years.
Yeah,
2
3.
years,
3 years?
3 years.
Okay.
All right, and I didn't see.
Rich, you want to finish
yeah,
that?
I'll make a motion to, for the extension for the DEP 157-479 for 3 years for the NRC.
Do I hear a second?
No second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I need Jane for that one. All right. Dave and I and Jane were up on Goodwin Drive today. When they were clearing the lot, there was a total of 8 trees beyond the limit of work that was posted there. The flags were thrown or discarded, and that's what Mr. Buckley was referring to earlier, that how do you control stupid? I don't know, but we have a recommended restoration order.
I've modified that slightly. Rather than calling it a restoration order, I just used the regular attachment A language that talks about a restoration and restoration and amendment or revision, or what did I put it as? A little bit less paperwork, so that it's not going to have an enforcement and restoration order and have this person by this date and yada yada. What I did is I incorporated into the attachment A, which, as we talked to Bill this morning, or this afternoon, is to append the order of conditions recorded at book 41052, page 232, for property deed at book 40993, parcel 478, because you want to have that continuity. The order of conditions cited attachment A, and it didn't include it. And attachment A will normally say enhancement/restoration. So the only real requirement for this is, I don't want to micromanage. I put applicant shall complete resource restoration enhancement activities prior to beginning any other landscaping in the 100-foot buffer zone, which is basically what Bill had said. It's not going to be done before the construction. Normally, they'll get a landscaper in to do everything, and Bill is going to create a plan, or, I don't know. And then there'd be an on-site meeting beforehand. We talked about restoring the area that had been disturbed, and then giving a little bonus corner in the area that probably should have been caught
Right.
as wetland, and we missed it. But such is life. That was the delineation from when this thing was filed. And
A number of
FYI,
years.
guys, delineations are only good for 3 years. The DEP circuit rider told us that. It shouldn't be continued, even though if it's included, if it's referenced in the subdivision, fine. It doesn't extend the date of the NRAD order, which is 3 years. So next time I'll have to think about that one and say, we should probably revisit these wetland flags.
So Jane, on the attachment A that I have, or we have, is number 24 and number 36 states that this restoration enhancement shall be done prior to beginning any house construction activities.
Yes, and I did some fancy footwork last minute. And I was trying to get rid of the stuff that was going to be cumbersome. And some of it's redundant, but it was stuff that should have been in there from the start, like limit of clearing. But that's water under the bridge, pun intended. But in the one I changed it, I put enhancement/restoration requirements. Applicant shall complete resource restoration/enhancement activities prior to or beginning any landscaping in the 100-foot buffer zone. What I thought we might do is just use your regular boilerplate and then give him a restoration, an enforcement and restoration order that says, by this date do this, by this date do that, like we've used in other ones so successfully. And so, yes, we could do that, but I think Bill's on board with creating some sort of a plan. And our plan was that they not touch any of the area that was not supposed to be touched. And then plant, they got very,
So all the plantings will be on their side of the no disturb.
except for the very far left corner.
Okay.
And that's kind of like a little bonus area because it's going to be wet anyway.
Yep,
That would be like a restoration with wetlandish plants because it's much wetter there than we thought.
And we, after you left, Bob, we talked with Bill that about 20 feet up the sideline of that area where the soil salt changes, and then come across that diagonal to one of the stakes.
Oh, yeah, you left.
That's a special area.
yeah, I had,
You were gone by then?
yeah,
We didn't talk about that corner together?
no.
Oh.
I had prior commitment.
Right. So basically, it would go up the corner to a tree that had been cut on the side lot. Bring it down to the next, limit of
Stake,
work.
Yeah, limit of work.
Stake or
that they
whatever.
had in there.
And
Okay.
then that whole area's been torn up.
Yeah.
That would be enhanced, and that would be, make for pretty thing. But the place that they'd gotten closest to, they encroached by, 10 feet or something, was really close to the trail, the future
Right.
trail, the current and future trail. And so I thought it would be appropriate for them to put pine trees in that location. Some of the pine trees they cut were this big.
I know it, yeah.
So pine trees in that location would block hikers better. And it would also, thicken it up in there so that it would give more privacy.
And I envision, once the Conservation Commission gets that property with the trail on it, there'll be a lot more activity there than there is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a popular area.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
You
And
can
that's
tell
the
that the
lake.
trail is being used now,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
so, hopefully, there'll be a lot more
Yeah.
usage.
Yeah, it has been. I just want to make sure that we don't have a similar issue to some other places where there's a
Yep.
trail already and then some houses are built nearby and the houses complain.
Houses keep encroaching on the, yes,
Uh-huh, yeah, yeah.
so. So do we have to make a motion on the new attachment A?
Well, it was referenced in the order of conditions, but it probably wouldn't hurt for you to say this wasn't included last time, and this is your
Should be
basic.
included at this time.
Yeah,
To
and
revise, yeah,
Bill said that it could be appended to the order of conditions that's already filed rather than changing that, because that is still protecting you. It's still an encumbrance on their deed.
okay,
This just flushes it out better the way we usually do.
all right.
So in summary, we have 3 areas that were disturbed, or the silt fence was put beyond where it should have been versus the plan. And Bill and I and Jane worked out exactly where those 3 areas are. He's going to hire a landscaper to come down and come up with a restoration plan later. And he's going to contact Jane so that we go out there and listen to what he says. And then Bill will provide that plan.
Okay.
Which we can also record that later.
All right,
We could, yeah, yeah. That's the thing, without getting into a restoration and enforcement and restoration order, which isn't normally recorded anyway. Unless and until they start to grumble about that. I think we've got a pretty good plan.
okay, good.
And also, I went to a recent meeting with a bunch of commissioners in the area, agents rather, in the
While we're on
area.
this, I just want,
Well, okay, go ahead,
do you
sorry.
have any comments on this? Oh,
No, not on this one.
No, he's our Garrett Spillane person.
oh, okay, all right. I just want to make sure you're, okay.
I was just going to say, I don't need to go into a long explanation. I'm going to start adding a pre-construction requirement in all of my orders of conditions. Pre-construction meeting where you look at the order of conditions and you say, do you have any questions? Shall we review it? Oh, no, I've reviewed it already. Okay, sign off that you understand.
Okay.
Because I'm tired of this kind of thing happening.
Yes, and if it persists, we will amend the order of conditions to have any work done within 50 feet of the buffer area be supervised by an engineer.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah, and that will make them pay and observe.
yeah. I think this is fair because they're not going to disturb the area that has not been disturbed, even though they cut trees farther than they should have. And then they're going to, as a little enhancement, they'll do that corner of the lot. And I think it can be really beautiful. I think it can be a win-win.
Okay,
As long as the deer don't eat the trees.
What's that?
As long as the deer don't eat the trees they plant.
There's always that.
well, yeah,
They're not eating a lot of the ones that are there now.
all right.
So
Any-
maybe make a motion to add this and with a cover letter to have it filed and whatever. I don't have a requirement to, this date and that and whatever. Except I think you probably should say,
Attachment A.
Attachment A, that was, needs to be appended.
We tried to encourage them via Bill to get the plantings of the trees in, which is the simplest thing now in the springtime.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this is something that, if they're gonna have a landscaper doing this, he's not gonna go down there until after all the construction's gonna be finished. So
Maybe not, we'll see.
we made the recommendation,
Yeah.
Jane and I.
Yeah, okay.
I would state too that this was approved, right?
Well,
By
it
the
was,
app-
it was stated, yeah,
By the,
it was stated
By the
in the
property
order.
owner, with
It was
res-
stated in the order, it's just a regular attachment that I put. So rather than make these really long orders, I just have the regular one and then the attachment.
Yeah, I
the
just-
Special conditions,
it just seems like we're opening up the order again.
it does it.
Yeah, so if we got the agreement from the, who we issued the order of conditions to, which we do, right?
Yeah, but the attachment A was cited in the order, it just wasn't, and that's all the special conditions.
Okay, but this is, they're fine with the
Yeah.
state and
Yeah, Bill wanted me to, he
Local
couldn't,
bylaw.
he didn't want to have to do the double row of
conditions.
hay bales thing, but other than
Okay.
that, he was good.
A few, yeah.
He said if I don't make him do it, I don't need to take it out.
Because you're gonna record this with the existing order that's out there, that's been recorded at the registry.
Right, this is, actually, this isn't the
This-
extra. This is what, how I put the top.
So they need to comply with this before they reissue a certificate of compliance.
So Bill said what you would be able to do is to append it to the order.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
assuming
fine.
it was recorded against the property's deed.
Yeah, I'd record this too as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But then put a reference, I guess?
that's fine, yeah.
I don't know how
Reference.
that all works. You probably do.
No, so the chain of title, someone could follow,
That's what we want.
and they go to this as well, yeah.
We want a story.
All right.
You've got a little
Yeah, well, that
different
would be like an
copy than I
updated
have.
attachment.
This is 24,
Well,
prior to commencing.
attachment A, which is a boilerplate, was not connected, it was not,
So
I
this has got
I was
to-
not in that time, I was in the hospital.
But I mean, when we
Hopefully
did the
she'll
original
get
one, there's an attachment.
It cites attachment A, but it didn't have an attachment A.
Yeah, she took about. She changed them in this one.
Oh, okay, well, okay, I guess I've got the old one, so, all
You
right.
do, because I've been monkeying with it ever since we had that meeting today.
Okay, all right. So, do we need a formal motion then?
I'll leave it up to you, because you
Okay.
understand how all this works. I want it recorded.
Okay, so why
It
don't we
was
make a
omitted
formal?
in error last time. I think that would be the best way of putting it.
So make a motion to approve the attachment A, which is special conditions, state and bylaw for DEP 157-621, which was issued an order of conditions. This attachment A goes with the existing order and will be recorded with the property. And that the applicant is aware of this attachment A and is approved of these special conditions,
The applicant's representative
or
is aware of it.
representative is
Yeah, yeah.
approved of the attachment A special conditions of the state and bylaw.
We discussed it with Bill today
Okay,
at the site visit.
okay.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Opposed? None? All right. Garrett's Blowing Way.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Jordan. I'm the new owner of 16 Garrett Spillane Road, and I'm here tonight to discuss a possible or an amendment to the existing order of conditions. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do is just gain some more space, which actually goes into the 100-foot buffer, and really just trying to put in a yard there in return for more plantings and further restoration of the area that had been damaged previously.
Shall I explain?
What's that?
Shall I explain?
Yes.
We know the history on this thing. This new person who doesn't want to look at the mess that's out there and is happy to do the restoration work as long as he gets a little bit of a wiggle room for a play area. So I didn't realize when he came last time that he had actually moved his house foundation farther away from that 100-foot. It's kind of an important piece of the puzzle, which he didn't realize. But, so, we're starting in a little bit better place. So when we were out there,
How much was it moved?
It was at least 10 feet further back in most areas, except for one corner that's actually.
This way or forward
Toward the
or?
roadway, right?
So the house was further to the left to the property line, and it was almost touching the 100-foot no disturb, and we redid all the plans and made the house skinnier, so we could actually move it kind of down on the lot a little bit further.
Towards the right?
towards the right, yeah.
It's on the
Can you see
bottom of
to the
this.
left when you're looking at the house from the roadway?
From, if you're standing, let's say you're standing in the vernal pool, okay? The house was originally really up on the left-hand side, almost, it was 15 feet, it was right on the property line, and we made the house skinnier so we could move it a little further away from the property line and also away from the 100-foot line as well, because it was right up against it, yeah.
So it's on the bottom of the first page?
Yep.
So I didn't even realize that, and when you said it, I'm like, you should have told us, because that makes a difference. And so we went back and forth and back and forth. It really is a mess back there, and he wants to get things going right away. And so I said, well, at the very least, there is an approved restoration plan, so you can go and start to pull out invasives, mainly buckthorn, and then one could argue that the vines going along the ground are invasive. I had that in my meadow, and they're native plants, but they're extremely invasive and they choke everything out. So I said, you have the right person taking them out by the crown, that should be fine too. But first step, because he's concerned about divots and rocks, I said, well, you can move rocks to someplace else if you're worried about your kids falling on them. And divots that were created, that are natural, leave, but divots that were created during the the unpermitted alterations could be smoothed out, like closer to the house and such. I think the bottom line is that we want to have as wide of a buffer to cleanse for the critters as possible, and it became very clear when some of us went out, like when the vernal pools were starting, and the two vernal pools that had the required 100-foot no activity zone were really loud and really active, and this one was dead quiet, which was really sad. It ruined my day. But after Ryan and I were out and we were monkeying around with the pegs and the boundary, which he had asked for it to be like 20 feet, and we brought it back down to about 10, 15 feet.
Yeah.
It seemed reasonable because the places that are closest to the water actually have more of a buffer. So if you were looking behind his house, most of the vernal pool is on the leftish side, and
You're looking from Garrett's,
from the back
road.
of his house.
Yeah,
with-
okay,
With
okay.
Garrett's Plain. Yeah, the vernal pool is mostly to the left side, and there's a big rise, there's a knoll. And so I think that's going to contain a lot of stuff. And the way we worked it, I think, well, getting back to my thought about the other pools being really active, and they will eventually disperse and go to this place, but they won't have that upland habitat. So by planting the plants and stuff, they'll have the upland habitat. So the two of us, we walked through his property, which is goes back quite a bit on the left-hand side. And you're going to have a pretty good sized yard once all is said and done, because you own quite a bit of the cart path easement type of thing. So, we decided what was fair and what sounded good, and after we made our decision, all of a sudden, the wood frog started calling from his vernal pool. So the we've got wood frog gods in town. We've had strange things happen before, but I thought that was pretty significant. Have any of you gone out to see these revised posts? What'd you think? We kind of tried to go by the scientific type of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he could clear a whole bunch of the other stuff out back if he was so inclined, but right now that is acting as their habitat, so,
If it works, yeah.
get a balance.
I did notice, though, when I was out there today, that some of the construction folks, they probably do it all the time on these sites, they're dumping their paint and their plaster and cement in the backyard, and in one case, I believe it was beyond the no disturb zone. So if you could just remind them not to be dumping paints
That's a bad thing.
into the
I'm
soil.
sure you wouldn't want that.
No, I didn't know that,
It's
so.
paint, there's one pile of what looked like paint, another pile looked like plaster, and then there's a pile of cement that they've,
Yeah, I know the plasters were there, but this last week, I haven't really been over there yet.
not a big, it wasn't a big deal, but
No,
it's
no painters have been there yet, so it's
probably plaster.
plaster, yeah.
But what do you think? Did it seem logical?
Yeah,
Reasonable,
yeah, yeah.
And then I found this
The-
awesome,
What's been done to it is just a
Yeah.
total disgrace, so if we
Yeah.
can,
right.
the original,
and
yeah.
if
So
you
we went
work
back
on
and
it
forth
like
and
you're-
back and
You're talking
forth.
about doing, you'll have a nice yard, but
Yeah.
it's gonna take a lot of work.
Yep, Jane has been a great resource for me and has kind of showed me that it can be still, very beautiful. It doesn't have to be a perfectly manicured lawn, but it'll be a really nice area back there. And I think that was one of the reasons why I like this lot, is because it's so private back there. And if I could make it usable and, good for the habitat, and I think it's a win-win.
Yeah. I think you'd benefit from a lot of blueberry bushes in there as well.
Yeah, I was looking at that, the bearberry.
Bearberries.
Those are great.
Some of the wild, kind of flower ground cover stuff, and some like grasses and maybe a few trees. So I'm gonna go probably on a shopping spree at some point, once the selection comes out.
I recommend, if you're familiar with Sylvan's down in Westport, if you have a truck, because they mostly commercial,
Yeah,
but they sell retail Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Are they native?
They have everything. I mean, I'm sure they have, you can look at their stock online. So if you look, it's Sylvan in Westport, and they have the PDF of everything they have, so just one resource. I mean, there's others, I'm sure.
yeah, check it out.
The one I've been meaning to check out is Blue Stem Natives. It's in the part of the world I don't know, so it's off South Shore past Canton type of thing. But it supposedly just has native species, and then you get into this, non-hybrid, non-this, that, and the other thing. But I've buried him with information, poor man. But I did find a really good article recently that I sent to all of you, and it was talking about a hillside restoration, and it had pictures. I mean, I need to see pictures. And it had the meandering path, and it had a place to enjoy.
Yeah. I don't think he's got enough room there to do a meandering path.
Yeah,
however.
yeah, but you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Gonna be a work in
Nothing
progress.
formal, but, there's an awful lot you can do if you go to your favorite woods and see how they look. You can have that in your backyard. And with little, after the first few years, maintenance. So what I told him was, first step would just be to do the work that really, really needs to be done immediately, and that means, hand remove the buckthorn, the dewberry vines, the raspberry vines, the those roses, those horrible roses, and there are a few others. But he's got a lot of nice native stuff growing there that I told him about. And if he's so inclined, he can actually take it from the areas that he can turn into meadow or whatever and put them down below. But you stand there going, I don't even know how to start with this. So the start is to get your clean slate.
Yeah, I was thinking of getting, the landscaper that we work with, I guess is pretty familiar with what's native and the invasive, and just have them come and just pull everything, and then I could probably maintain it. Hopefully from that point forward, at that time, I'm trying to kind of coordinate with the rest of the landscaping. I'd like to wrap that into that additional 10 feet, and then at the same time, just have them really just do those initial plans. I'd like to just kind of bang it all out.
Well, I would like to go
Yeah.
there when you find somebody and point and nod and
Where-
maybe mark off certain
that's fine.
things. And of course, he used something I'd given him, so I know he's reading it. He said, well, when we take them out, I want to plant something else in their place. And that's what it recommends when you take out invasives, so that you don't have this open scar. You just
Yeah.
plop in it. So that was good. I was impressed when you said that.
Okay. Yeah, doing my research here, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. You may even enjoy it.
I think so. Once it's all planted, I have a vision in my head, but we'll see how it all turns out.
Sometimes you kind of change the vision a little bit, and you get what's available, and you really should try for the native plants, natives. There's some real
Yeah.
hardcore ones like that, the Garden in the Woods and the native plant, the Native Plant Trust, rather, and that blue stem natives, I think. It's in the back of my guidelines to landscape restoration guidelines, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I called one Bigelow, and they were pretty helpful, but I think the landscape, might use the Sylvan one as well, so.
Well, that Bigelow is really good. I know that the
Yeah.
agent in Southborough has browbeat them into getting more natives there. So they have a ton, especially if you wanted to put a hillside of fern, they've got a ton of ferns there.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of really good natives.
Yeah, they were pretty helpful there so far, so.
It's the in thing now. It's in right now to have a pollinator garden and native plants and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm an innovator here, I guess. I'm gonna
There you go.
curve.
Yeah, you
Just
can be
so I
our
know
poster
I'm
child, okay?
Yeah.
How's that? I would like you,
Non-paying poster child.
Okay.
yes, I would like you to, get me over there with your landscaper and stuff, because I don't want to leave anything to conjecture. I want everything clear.
Okay.
Especially since you don't have a clear plan yet, but I don't really think you're going to really need a clear plan, just a clear idea of what kind of plants in which kind of areas.
Yeah, I think, once I get everything lined up, I'll throw some dates over and,
That'd be great, because what they used to say to me all the time, Bill Hawking used to say he didn't like surprises. We just don't want any surprises.
okay. Yeah, there'll be no, I don't know what would surprise you as
I
plantings.
think, no, I think you get it now, but, people hear what they want to hear, including myself.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Anything else in?
Making lemonade.
Yep. Okay, do you have any other questions for us?
The only question that I would have is the existing order conditions is through 2 planting seasons. Upon successful completion, would you sign off, or would you want some additional time to see what the plantings do?
There's reason for everything, and one of the reasons is it'll take a while. It'll take a couple of years to see how much of your plants are successful, and you'll have to, in the very beginning, really keep after the invasive plants, because they'll get ahead of you really fast if you don't. So that's the 2-year deal, and it's fashioned after the Wetlands Protection Act's wetland restoration, except this is an upland restoration. But it's the same premise. You really need 2 years to know if it's going to be successful and that
This
sort
would
of
be
thing.
1 growing season, and then, is it 2 years or 2 growing
2
seasons?
growing seasons.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can get a partial.
I'm not in any
We're not
rush.
really
Yeah.
amending the order per se, unless you had an actual plan that we could follow.
So does that go to spring of, or summer of '24? Like,
Well, if he's,
If he gets it in now.
are we
Yeah.
talking like, is this the planting season? So this is the first
if he
season?
puts it in now,
he gets it
next
in.
spring is the first year.
Next spring is the first year.
Yeah, because it would be a full year. The idea is you make sure the plants are going to survive. And you have to fashion your plants after your habitat unless you want to put a whole lot of time and effort into them. And you've got to, I say, use Cape Cod type species because you're sitting on sands and that
Pretty
kind of
dry
thing.
and, yeah.
And it's dry and it's sunny.
Yep.
Yeah, so all of the things that I've listed should be really good. But you won't know exactly what you can get till you get it, till you go shopping. And that's half the fun, too.
Yeah, I think like April, May, like they say, a lot more stuff
Yes.
that's available, so.
Yes, but you got to clean your little easel first. You got to get rid of the bad stuff first so that you know what you're working with.
Cleaning back there,
Because
yeah.
it's tough. It's tough to see. I said, leave the big debris, like big sticks, big chunks of whatever, wood. But, pick up the sticks and stuff if you want to. I mean, a lot of people want to pick sticks up and make things look neat. Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
Oh, just use them for your fire pit.
Fire pit, yeah, I don't know. We'll see where that, one project at a time here, yeah.
Well, some of the plantings that the developer put in I would say about 70% of them are alive,
Still alive.
still alive. And you can still see the,
Nice.
the bottom
Mound.
mound.
Oh,
And there's been a few that the deer have chewed up, and one of them, they rubbed their horns on it, scraping, but otherwise, you have a pretty good survival rate on that sand.
oh,
I'm surprised with that hill, too.
Surprising. Well, the thing is, he planted stuff that's native to the area and wants to grow there. And that's the secret,
yep.
plain and simple. What else? Oh, yeah, if you'll remember, initially you contemplated you had he was supposed to, the person who did this work was supposedly going to restore the area. And we went back and forth several times and we almost had decided on a restoration plan with John Rockwood, which he's basing a lot of his stuff on John Rockwood's plan. I gave him everything, soup to nuts, that we'd received. But if you recall, this is a bylaw order of conditions for the 100-foot no disturb zone that was going to be, not to be touched. So it was not a part of the order in a big way, because he said, well, stay out of it.
Yeah.
And then finally planted a few things, but I don't think it behooves us to make a lot out of this. I mean, if you wanted an amended order, it might not be a bad thing, but I think that, he knows what he needs to do. You guys agree with it, and just trying to move on. And make for nice, make for pretty.
Got it. So no amended order, I can just kind of
Yeah, I
do the yard and all that?
don't know. Do you think there's a need for an amended,
It was so betwixt and between, and we just wanted to bring it to a
Right,
close
it's one of
somehow.
those things that,
I mean, you're going to see it before he's, with the,
I will.
Right. Yeah, and I think the issue only here was the line,
Yeah.
that he put out there with trying to understand what we were trying to accomplish versus what the other guy did.
Well, like I said, the other guy would agree to things, and then he'd say, no, I'm not going to do that, and
But now you got agreed upon line, I think.
we do.
Why should we touch it?
yeah.
do. And if you do happen to create any kind of plan with a landscaper,
Yeah,
just submit it
okay.
or something. You can almost use what you have. It has the topography and all.
Yeah, I think we try to kind of go off of what John Rockwood did a little bit
Yes.
in terms of the
Yeah, he was in
change
the
some of
right
the
course.
plantings. Yeah,
He was going on the right course. And the bit about having oversight from somebody who knows what they're doing and stuff initially, I think that's really helpful.
no, I think we're all set.
Okay. All right.
so I'm okay, yard and
yep.
Yep,
invasives, all that good stuff. Okay,
very good.
perfect.
Just
Jane.
don't move them. And if you put big rocks along the edge, put them on the house side.
Inside?
Yeah, no stone wall things or anything into the restoration area. Keep them on the wall side.
Okay.
And he also said he'd put up some kind of a fence, like split rail or something.
I'm figuring out the fence situation. I was thinking split rail, but I have two small dogs, and right now I have a fully fenced-in yard.
Oh.
So I gotta figure out what, they're small dogs too.
I used to have a great little dog run right off the back of my house off the deck, and I'd let the dog out, and the dog would run around and do its business and come back up.
Yeah, they're getting old, so they don't really,
They won't want to go down the stairs.
they're 10 and 11, but I found out that this dog breed is like the longest living dog breed. They live
What
like
kind is it?
20 years.
Okay.
Toy fox terrier.
Oh, okay. Oh, they're feisty.
20
They
years.
are fun. And they like chasing squirrels, so, I mean, they're gonna like this area. If I can, one of them stays close, but the other one likes to roam a little, so. But the fence is in play, I just gotta figure out what the right
Well,
kind is.
just let me know if you're gonna, what you plan, and, we agree on the intent and everything. Just don't go too crazy.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not,
I got a question.
okay.
Has anybody known about any work being done on the 16th hole of the country club?
No, no.
I don't think, have we gotten any,
I haven't gotten any notification at all.
are they working out there?
Are
I
they?
don't know.
They've
I
got to be,
mean,
I think. Weren't they supposed to start it?
I'll talk to the
Fall,
club
maybe
tonight.
even?
okay. Because last time we had that
No, I'll talk to Bruce.
meeting out there with the facilities guy, and it was going to be done probably, late fall after the golf season.
Right, that's what I thought.
And I think they had to file for Army Corps permit,
Yeah, I
too.
bet they did.
Yeah, it was advertised in the Reporter.
Okay,
That might have delayed them a little bit, so,
it's possible. Yeah, I'll find out.
okay.
Give you a report. Send an email around.
Okay.
Shall
Maybe
we-
Mr. Buckley knows, are you a member of the country club?
Social?
Okay, all right. Good answer. I just wondered if they were doing the work. Okay. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank Jeff for his years of service. We will miss you. But you omitted one thing. You don't have a replacement. You're supposed to bring
Bring a replacement?
a replacement.
So I actually had a replacement, but they just had twins.
Oh, the life's over.
Details.
So,
Being the father
That
of
person
twins,
may,
I know.
that
what-
person may want to get out of the house.
I know, and she's I talked to, she's a neighbor, she used to be an agent, and I forget which town she was in, and now she's a teacher.
Oh.
So.
But-
I talked to her about it, it's like, I haven't talked to her recently, but I haven't seen her, they've been busy.
Well, we'll have to advertise for it and all.
Okay. But again, thank you for your,
My pleasure, I've been enjoying it.
and you're still invited.
Yep.
Okay. And segueing into that, I do not have any answers, and remember the first 4 wins.
Hey, I put mine.
I sent you a response.
Okay, I haven't
Rich
looked,
did,
I haven't looked at my email in 2 days, so,
you got one,
okay.
two, well, Jane.
RSVPs?
I said either.
I have no idea what August is gonna look like.
All right. Anything else
Yeah,
before
no,
we
it's
adjourn?
been a pleasure, I've enjoyed it, enjoyed working with everybody here, people in town. I'm gonna miss everybody. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm still gonna miss
You
everybody.
can come to meetings and watch.
You can sit in the audience and, pipe in. Yeah.
You got to turn in your yellow placard.
Either that or you can watch the televised version and point and laugh.
Anything else before we adjourn?
The only thing would be the 15 Willow that we went for a site
We
visit today.
discussed that.
Talked about
You
it.
did discuss it already?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I missed
Yep.
it. No problem.
So, with that
I'll make a motion.
Oh, you forgot
Close the
something.
meeting.
Second?
discussion, all in favor?
Right?
Opposed? None? Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.